Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us. We're at Interop 2012 in Las Vegas, Nevada. On our show is Erik Giesa. He is the SVP of Product Marketing and Management at F5 Networks. And Erik, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich. It's nice to be here.
So I thought we'd start out by talking about your booth and what's happening there and what you're showing people today.
Okay. A couple of things that are really exciting. We had two major announcements this week. The first was on application delivery optimization. So F5 is adopting and supporting a new optimization protocol called SPDY that's been put forth by Google. It's a faster internet. And the problem with SPDY is that it's specific to only one type of application environment. We solve the problem because we become a SPDY gateway in our networking. So the whole principle of F5 is offload from the application what makes sense into the network. So by being a SPDY proxy and a gateway, we can speedify any application, whether it's Apache-based, a Microsoft app, an Oracle app, an SAP app. You don't have to change the application, and the end result is about a 50% performance benefit to the end user.
So tell us a little bit about how that works. Is it caching? Is it compression? How?
No, it's actually the way that it takes what HTTP is in essence an inefficient protocol and does some tips and tricks to minimize the number of connections, as well as be able to set up multiple concurrent connections to the browser, and also minimize unnecessary content and chattiness. And typically the way it would work is you'd have an Apache server and you'd have to deploy an Apache mod on each and every application server, and that's costly and complex, and it doesn't work with every application. By doing it in our appliance, we remove that need, and so we speak SPDY to the client and HTTP back to the application. So you don't have to modify anything, and you get the benefit of implementing SPDY.
So any kinds of applications that this won't work with, or is it just basically any kind of
It's any application.
Web apps, so really, it really boosts the cloud.
Yeah, it's meant for web apps and cloud-based applications, and to do it cost-effectively and efficiently. It's all part of our overall application delivery optimization strategy. So we're also adding, we have a lot of context. Because we're a full proxy architecture, we sit in line between the client and the application, and you set policy on how you want to treat that user session, whether you want to secure it, redirect it, or accelerate it, right? And one of the value props is by offloading to our device, we can support all applications, not just a singular. The value proposition is pretty strong because you're not having to modify the applications themselves, but also because of our context, we can do things, and we announced this as well, content minification depending upon the type of network the user's coming on.
Can you just say that word again, content?
Minification.
Okay, minification.
So, you know, if I've got a laptop with an air card on a very robust Wi-Fi network, the type of image that I can deliver is you know, a 1080p type image. That's fine. You've got plenty of bandwidth. You've got a client that can leverage that type of resolution. But if you're on a smartphone, you don't want to deliver the same image. You want it to be faster.
Right.
And you know, network conditions, there can be congestion. So you want to minimize the amount of the size of that image, so it can get to the client faster and it will meet the specifics of that device. So having the intelligence to say, oh, it's coming on a smartphone over a congested network, therefore I'm going to minimize the content to this particular user, is another part of our application delivery optimization.
And as we're dealing with more and more devices on these networks, and we've got challenges with access points that get loaded up in, let's say, conference rooms or other public areas, it's a challenge, isn't it, to keep everyone happy?
And so the ability to have something that sits in between the user and the application session that can proxy that, detect those conditions, and adapt appropriately based upon, again, the capacity of the network, the performance of the network, what type of client, and also the performance of the back-end application.
Now, how do customers determine the ROI on something like this? Because it sounds like you can actually do some calculations and show payback. Yeah,
there's a number of different ways, and that's a really good question. It depends on the use case. So for example, if you have a call center, and they're web apps, and you're hosting the call center web apps out of the data center, but these call centers are usually distributed around the world.
Sure.
performance matters, because as soon as I get somebody on the phone and I'm in the call center, the quicker I can resolve their problem, get off the phone, and get on to the next one, the more productive, the more profitable I am. This is a case where seconds matter. If it's taking, and if your data center is, say, in Cupertino, but your call center is in India, that's a lot of latency, and you'll see, application performance go to 12, 15 seconds. Well, if you can reduce that to 3 seconds, you're talking, and you multiply that by hundreds of employees in the call center, you're talking about being able to increase your productivity and call capacity by 30% by just improving application performance. The same is true, and this is well known, Google's documented this, and Keynote and others have said 5 seconds or less. If you're not putting up a web page in 5 seconds or less, you're going to lose revenue. And so that's very customer specific and dependent of how much revenue that is. But we know in some cases we have, a big part of our segment is technology and e-commerce, our market segment that we serve. And we know we have customers that are doing, $1 billion a day. So if they lose just, 1% of that traffic because they're slow, that's material revenue. And, for the cost of implementation is absolutely nothing compared to the potential lost revenue.
Now, would the SPDY protocol help with that particular customer or any other customer as long as users have the proper browser?
Yes, it is browser dependent. I'm glad you brought that up. So the modern browsers that support SPDY today are Chrome and Firefox and also Amazon Silk. IE, we've heard Microsoft is looking at adding a plugin to support SPDY, but they also have their own optimization protocol that's a bit competitive to SPDY. But the nice thing is we'll do the same thing we did with Google, with Microsoft. They're a good partner of ours. Again, instead of instrumenting every single application, it makes sense to offload that centrally into the network.
Now, I didn't hear the word Safari.
Oh, Safari's going to support it too.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't yet.
Okay, well that's good news.
Yeah.
So that's a good part of the market. That Microsoft's going to have to do something, right?
Yeah, everybody is. Google's got this in front of the IETF, and so eventually it will become an official standard. But we're just ahead of the curve. We're the first in the market to do this.
It's very exciting.
It is.
So what's next?
What's next? Well, leveraging, another big thing, and this is related in many ways. We announced a significant partnership with HP, all around orchestration. So F5 sits at a strategic point of control in the network, applying the application security, application acceleration, application availability policies. So think of us as an enforcement point, right? Well, HP has a great management framework in their Intelligent Management Center. Single pane of glass in which to orchestrate the layer 2-3 network, their stuff. And now what we announced is integration with IMC that enables them to orchestrate the layer 4-7 network, the application delivery infrastructure, that's F5. And so you take provisioning layer 2-7, what might have taken months, down to minutes. So it's mimicking the same model. As rapidly as you can spool up or provision a virtual machine, you can now make it production ready. And you can mimic that into the full network stack, layer 2 through layer 7. And so we announced that. We're going to continue powering down that, because the future really is, cloud ultimately isn't one technology, it's not one vendor, it's really an operational model. And that operational model is capacity on demand, self-provisioning, getting rid of the CLI, and being able to orchestrate things. And so what's forward here, it's all about management, automation, orchestration. And we're a key piece of that because we're what gets orchestrated. What security policies get associated with that virtual machine and that SharePoint instance, for example? What security policies get applied to your Apache-based portal? What acceleration policies should go with that? That too is a set container of services that needs to be just as mobile and fluid as the virtual machines themselves.
Wow, that's a lot of exciting things happening.
It is, yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks for being on the program today. This is great.
Thank you for having me.